Okay, so let's get into it. It has been an absolutely crazy week. There's not a week that goes by where there's not some feminist craziness happening in the parliament, but this and the media. But
It's a
this
Salem
week
witch trials, mate. It's a Salem witch trial.
was really next level. Now, the week began with Katie Gallagher has been caught red-handed telling a lie. There's text messages that show that she told a flat-out lie in estimates, in Parliament, and she's continuing to lie. But more bizarrely, it's not the fact that just you got one rogue politician telling a lie, but the entire Labor Party has decided to stand behind her and say that she's not lying. I find it absolutely bizarre. It's not just Katie Gallagher who looks like a fool now. It's the entire Labor Party. It is absolutely remarkable. Now, for those of you who aren't all over this story, Katie Gallagher made it her mission to help Brittany Higgins, Lisa Wilkinson.
Glenn, how dare you? How dare you?
Exactly. Literally go to war against Bruce Lerman, and not just Bruce Lerman, but Brittany Higgins' former employer, the Liberal Party. It was a decision to let's cause as much damage as we possibly can to the Liberal Party, and let's cause as much damage to Bruce Lerman as we possibly can before we report it to the police and before the trial. Let's absolutely destroy him in the media.
The worst part of that, mate, is literally that all of the rhetoric about politicising this issue, not once do they mention the guy is still innocent.
It's extraordinary. I mean, it
by
really,
law, he's still innocent. That's insane.
It's slander on an extreme level.
It's all about the alleged EPAR. You know, we got to say it backwards, or grape on YouTube. But it's all about the alleged grape victim. But there's not 1 ounce of consideration for the alleged. One thing I've got to say is, I talk to a lot of people from a lot of different sides, points of society. I'm a musician. I talk to the rich and I talk to the poor. And, one of the things that I've spoken to a lot of men is that grape, everyone hates it. Like in prisons, there's a separate place, a separate area for grapists. Even murderers don't want to associate with grapists. Like, the grapists have to get separate because they'll be murdered by the murderers. To be accused of something like that is it's incredible.
This all comes back to one big thing, and that is the fact that people like Tanya Plibersek, they cannot even comprehend or imagine that a woman would ever lie. They truly believe in this idea of #BelieveWomen. Now, there was a fascinating interview on Sunrise.
#BelieveAllWomen. Have you ever heard that saying, what America flushes down the toilet arrives in Australia 2 or 3 years later?
Yeah, it's very true. So Tanya Plibersek was being interviewed, and she was asked, are you going to watch the interview? And she's like, no. And the reporter seemed to be quite stunned. She's like, don't you want to see what's happened, what's being alleged? And she's like, no, I will not watch that. I will not give Bruce...
Oh, I heard that.
So,
followed through in the coming days. Tanya, will you watch this episode of Spotlight last night, given that
Nope.
you won't?
No, I don't want to. I don't want to watch it. No, I don't want to. I don't want to platform Bruce Lerman. Sorry.
You're not interested in what went on behind the scenes, the allegations that your name is mentioned, footage that hadn't been seen before of the two of them walking into Parliament House?
No, I don't need to see that.
Just to get a fuller picture?
No, I'm not deciding the case here. This has gone through the courts, and the result is as the result is, and it makes no difference whether I watch it or not.
Okay. We thank you both for joining.
So, but this is the mentality where they won't even look at the other side. They're refusing. She's literally refusing to look at the evidence.
Yep.
At the same time, when that they want to launch a campaign against a person that's been alleged of an unproven crime.
But my friend, you're a conspiracy theorist because you are apparently refusing to look at the sides of the common opinion. See, this is the funny thing about it is she's like, I refuse to look at the truth of the matter. I refuse to look at all of the evidence. That's essentially what she's saying. She's like, my beliefs are so strong that I refuse to look at the evidence. And that's the belief of a conspiracy theorist.
Exactly. So in her world, every single woman that's ever made an accusation has told the truth. And women just don't lie about that.
Absolutely.
So this sets up a situation where any woman can... You talked about the witch trials before. This is actually identical to the witch trials, except with the witch trials, if you made an accusation against someone, that destroyed the other person. The other person would be murdered.
Yeah, and their life is finished, so their suffering's ended.
Exactly. But you wouldn't personally benefit. In this situation, there's far more incentive because all you need to do is to make an allegation and you will receive a huge payout. Now you don't even need to report it to the police. And this is what's really interesting about this week. We've got Senator Lydia Thorpe saying, I'm not going to go to the police. Now,
that man. Oh my God, that speech.
Anyone who has a daughter, a teenage daughter, I urge you to say to your daughter, the advice that she's giving you, the example that she's giving you is horrendous. If somebody ever assaults you, you need to go to the police. That is the best possible way to get the appropriate outcome.
The problem is,
do not go to the media.
If we really want to go to the root of the problem, and this goes right to the root of the Aboriginal community, it's fathers. The father will kick someone's ass. Like, the father will kick the kid's ass. The father will kick the ass of the person that harmed their kid. This is old school.
I think this is an area where we disagree. I'm a big believer in we have a very good criminal justice system. It's not perfect.
I get you. No, I agree with you there too. That's
necessary. If somebody sexually assaults you, if somebody attacks you, the best thing that you can do to get the best possible outcome is for you to go to the police.
In this society,
In this society, in Australia, you go to the police. You don't have vigilante justice. You don't go to the media and try and destroy them in the media. You don't try and destroy them in the parliament. You go to the police. But I think this is the point. Lydia Thorpe and the other politicians that are making these allegations now, their aim is not to have a rapist put into jail or have someone that is harassing women stopped. Their motivation is to get a payout, and they want to get that payout with as little effort as possible. And the easiest way to do that is to not go to the police, because if you go to the police and you go through a trial, you're going to be in court for days and weeks.
Oh, and there's evidence. The whole thing of evidence, that pesky evidence.
But if you just run your campaign through the media, you can have one interview, and you're going to get, we're talking $3 million Brittany Higgins received now.
Let alone the book deals and everything that ensues from there.
Exactly. So if the government's consistent, which they very rarely are, these senators, Amanda Stoker, Lydia Thorpe, and the third woman hasn't been named yet, they're looking at $3 million each. Now, my take on that is the reason why they're not going to the police.
$3 million each? Is that an estimate based on what Brittany Higgins got?
They very rarely are consistent. But if they're consistent, there's been a precedent.
That's the funniest part, though. Are they consistent?
There's been a precedent set that a staffer in Parliament was assaulted. Therefore, the government paid her $3 million.
Yeah.
If they're consistent, they now have to give Lydia Thorpe, even though they don't like Lydia Thorpe. So they're probably not going to give Lydia Thorpe...
Have you seen in Parliament when she's speaking and looked in the background? Do you do that? You see the looks on the other senators and they're just like, oh, fuck.
They can't stand her.
Oh, God, here she goes.
This is why she won't get $3 million. But if they were consistent, she would. The Labor Party dislike her. The Liberal Party dislike her. And the Greens dislike her now because she's called them racist. The Independents, like Pauline Hanson, despise her. They're almost certain not to give her $3 million. But if they're consistent, they'll give her $3 million. And they'll also give Amanda Stoker $3 million.
Or more.
So there's literally no easier way in this country to make money than to make an allegation against an Australian politician.
Well, it's a pattern. And this is the funniest thing about it. Like, I see this pattern everywhere. I see it in breakups in marriage. Like, generally, in a lot of cultures, the woman takes most of the stuff. In spending in families, the woman spends most of the, like, 80% of domestic spending is done by women. It's that men, we're too damn stupid these days to realise that we're being taken advantage of in a lot of ways. And that extends to Parliament. Like, look at David Vann. He held respect, of course. He held
my
respect.
Understanding is,
it's just like he's got no rights there.
Well, my understanding is he's now going to stand as an independent, and I hope this damages and teaches the Liberal Party a lesson. I hope that there's a lot of people in his electorate who think like me and you and think that it is absolutely outrageous that he's been dismissed from the Liberal Party without any evidence or any investigation. And I hope that the people that would have voted for the Liberal Party will now vote for this independent, and the Liberal Party will lose that seat. And it will teach them a lesson, because the way the Liberal Party have acted is absolutely disgraceful.
What do you reckon, like, long term? You know, this is a short term thing, but it's a bombshell. This is absolutely a bombshell. The Liberal Party should be ashamed of this. I mean, there are some that are doing great, like there are some doing some really incredible work, but in general, they're not striking while the hammer's hot. And then you've got Labor Party that's just kind of backtracking and saying, now it's about protecting women somehow.
Well, the long-term effect is very simple. Any woman who works in that parliament can make, if they're consistent, $3 million from an accusation.
Yep.
Plus whatever deals they can secure with the media, which will be substantial. So it's literally the easiest way to make money. And they're now, the thing that's different about this is they're not even going through the police, which is a big problem, because that's a very bad example that they're setting for young girls.
Absolutely.
Because what a responsible person would be saying to all the women out there, if this happens to you, go to the police. No vigilante justice, no going to the media and running a war to destroy someone through the media, no trying to do it through the parliament.
Mm-hmm.
Go do it the right way, go to the police. You can remain anonymous. That's the other big thing. People have talked about Brittany Higgins being a victim because the media were calling it the Higgins trial and because people in the media were talking about her. If she had done it the correct way, she had done it the right way, she would have been the same as the woman who made the allegations against Jared Hayne. Nobody knows who she is. I get you there,
mate. I get you there. But I think what you're seeing and what the Australia is seeing is something that goes far further back. It's called the Feminist Whisper Network. And it's been used to bring down a lot of powerful men. And in Australia, it was Craig McLachlan, George Pell. Like, even there's, like, it's the trial by social media. It's the Feminist Whisper
Absolutely,
Network.
But this is the next level of that, where they're not.
It's being exposed. Like, they can't hide it anymore.
They're getting their compensation money in a much lazier way. They're not prepared to spend any time going through the court system and navigating that. They're saying,
but what happens to something that's gained so much power? That Whisper Network has gained so much power. That method has gained so much power that now they just collect money from the taxpayer without any explanation. That's what the powerful do. They just kind of they take, and they don't care about the people that it affects anymore because they're so damn powerful they don't even consider it. The Me Too movement, she's got so much power behind her, so much cultural power.
Well, Lydia Thorpe is of the view that she's been wronged by this country and that her land was stolen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure in her mind she's thinking, if they give me $3 million, you know what? That's a fraction of what I deserve. That's a fraction of what's been stolen from me and my people. So she would have no qualms at all in taking $3 million off the taxpayer in compensation. And she would say, you know what, I deserve more than that. So that I'm only guessing, but I'm pretty sure that's her thinking. And I mean, the other thing about it is, let's say you were a bad guy and you were looking for someone to harass and you wanted to find a meek woman who wouldn't fight back, as if you would pick Senator Lydia Thorpe. She's the most aggressive woman in that parliament.
One day she says, keep your legs closed. The next day she says, that man. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah, so she's trying to convey herself as someone who was really weak and timid.
Oh, wasn't she?
Scared in the corridors where there wasn't cameras, and she was too scared.
And the crocodile tears. Yeah, absolutely.
Too weak to fight back. The reality is that if someone attacked her, she would probably kick them. Where she would yell, she would scream.
She's one of those feminists, my friend. She's one of those feminists that switches from hero to victim. on the turn of a dial because it suits her political needs. Seriously, it's disgusting to watch. It's disgusting to watch for a man. It really is.
This has definitely hurt the Liberal Party. It's probably hurt the Labor Party, but she will get more votes as a result of this because all the hashtag Me Too and Believe Women, everyone at the March for Justice, she is now a hero to them. So she's going to get more votes. The Liberal Party are going to lose more votes. And I've got no doubt the Labor Party will lose votes out of this too. She is the winner, absolutely the winner out of this. Having said that, it's helped the Labor.
Do you reckon she'll be the winner out of this? Lydia Thorpe?
Absolutely, because
that's a huge statement. Like
anyone who supports the March for Justice, she now becomes their hero. Anyone who believes in Me Too, she now becomes their hero.
You know, I think there's a healthy skepticism happening out there. I really do. I mean, I
think most people don't believe in hashtag Me Too.
Yeah, most people. The normie,
there's a percentage. She doesn't need to have more than 50% of the population to increase her popularity. If she can get 10% of the population, she'll be wrapped. She just needs people. The biggest problem is if you're an independent or with a smaller party, is people not knowing who you are, not getting enough media attention. She's now got more than most of the people with the Liberal and the Labor Party. So for her.
So you reckon bad media is good media?
If you're an independent who struggles to get media, or if you're with a minor party.
True.
If you're with a major party, bad publicity is bad publicity and it hurts you. But I've got no doubt, I guarantee you, she will get more votes at the next election than what she got at the previous election.
Could you imagine David Limerick, at the steps of the Parliament House in Melbourne, and crawling up the steps going, "You're taking away our freedom!" with the lockdowns and everything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
It'd be exactly like that. Maybe you'd get news because what he did was him and who was the other senator, but they just sat on fold out chairs and.
Yeah, I've seen that footage on YouTube. Actually, that was
pretty good. It was pretty courageous.
The other thing it does too is nobody is going to be game in the Parliament to take her on anymore because they're going to fear that she might do to them what she did to Van and just have an outburst and accuse them of something.
I don't know. So, I mean, you know what I would like to see happen, and I know this is like a dystopian future, but it might actually reset the balance. I want to see some men from Parliament start to actually do some Me Too accusations. It would equilibralize it, they could talk about those hidden camera rooms where there's no cameras, because isn't it amazing? Higgins, no cameras. Thorpe, no cameras. It's amazing how they're just suddenly in these rooms where no one can get any evidence. And that always seems to be the setting.
I think Higgins, to me, if she hadn't have made the accusation, she would have lost her job. As Lerman said, a few media elites jumped on the bandwagon, and then it just, before even Higgins could do anything, it was completely and utterly out of control. She was the face for the March for Justice. She became a girl who was a millionaire overnight.
Yeah, absolutely. $3 million, mate. $3 million.
So the point, my basic point is this: if any woman can accuse any man in the Parliament, and if the Parliament is consistent, they're getting $3 million. And they don't even need to go through the police anymore. So this is a very new development, because this time 3 years ago, if you were to get that sort of money and compensation, you would have through the police.
Yep, absolutely.
And the same with Rochelle Miller. Rochelle Miller got a huge payout from the Liberal government. Again, absolutely ridiculous, made no sense. She had a relationship with Alan Tudge, and then she just claimed a relationship was abusive, and the Liberal government bizarrely gave her, I think it was $650,000 in compensation, but cleared Alan Tudge of any wrongdoing. And Alan Tudge to this day is still employed with the Liberal Party. He's still a very powerful MP with a very important portfolio. But the taxpayer had to pay $650,000 because he was criminally he wasn't criminally at fault, but they believed that he was at fault in a relationship.
See, this is what's ridiculous, mate, is that it's always the taxpayer. And they always say it's like the government paid. The government paid. And I really want to change that rhetoric from government paid to taxpayer paid, or tax paid, because it really is what it is. It's all of our taxpayers just kicking the can down the road for some schmuck. And these type of characters can get re-elected.
Yeah, but I think it says a lot about both the Labor and the Liberal parties.
There's not enough. Completely lost it, mate. They've completely lost it.
Today they're saying that there's not enough money to do, to fix the rental crisis, to fix the housing crisis. But $3 million for this one, $3 million for that accusation.
Yep.
$650,000 for that accusation.
Yep.
That if they weren't doing that, you could maybe say, well, maybe there isn't enough money. But we know the way they're throwing it around. The Tasmanian Stadium, $1 billion for a stadium. We've got this rental crisis and we've got this homeless crisis. And the feminists are weaponizing this.
Oh, that
talking
thing,
about constantly
how
about
the budget. Oh my God.
Constantly about how the fastest growing group of homelessness are women. And they know damn well that there are more homeless men than homeless women. But all the data says it. Yeah. Every single country in the Western world.
Say it. It's crazy.
There are more homeless men than homeless women, but the feminist movement are literally going to weaponize this. And but the feminist goal isn't to get less people homeless; it's to get more money for their feminist agency.
Absolutely.
So that this for them is a real power play, and it really needs to be pushed against. And we need to be saying constantly and letting. I urge everybody out there, ring your MPs, write to your MPs, and
Absolutely.
let them know. I know.
Let them know.
Let them know that that they know that there's more homeless men and women. And if you continue to peddle this line about the rental crisis and the shortage of houses in this country affecting women more than men, and that it's a crisis that's predominantly affecting older women, that you're not going to vote for them.
We're going to put some stats up. Yeah, we're going to put some stats up. Yep.
Absolutely. If enough of us do that, the politicians will stop making these obscene speeches in Parliament about homeless women. Anthony Albanese did it this week. I think Albanese did it in a way to try and distract the public from talking about Katie Gallagher. He made a ridiculous speech about the gender pay gap and about homeless women, and we need to help. We need to do more.
I didn't see that one, by the way. I saw you posted on it, mate, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was literally he literally defended Gallagher. And then the next question, he started carrying on about the gender pay gap and homeless women. At the same time when they're offering a housing package which is so inadequate for this growing population, they know it's going to make things work. They know that in 5 years' time.
And I hate to sound like Pauline Hanson, but the immigration and the housing that's provided for them, dude, the bubble's going to burst. It has to burst. Something has to burst here.
I've got no problem with immigration. I'd be happy for them to, I'd be happy for them to bring in 20 million new immigrants in the next 5 years. But if you're going to bring in 20 million new immigrants, you must have enough houses for every single one of them to live in. And it must not make it so that people that are working can't afford to rent a house.
This is immigration, now running at levels that have never been seen before. It looks like net migration this year could be 400,000. More than 1,000 a day. There are two roughly equal categories: students and people who said they were coming for a holiday and then changed their mind and their visa. They mostly land in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane, and on current numbers, they'll soak up the available accommodation in those three places in 1 month. Now, there's a lot of work and even more talk going into increasing the supply of housing, but that'll take years to result in actual buildings. Meanwhile, the demand for housing from immigration is happening right now because there are dire staff shortages everywhere. Well, that means, I'm sorry to say, that the rental crisis is not going to end in a hurry. It's simply a lot easier and quicker to get people than it is to build houses for them.